Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that you walked back your comments on Davos in a conversation with Mr. Trump. Is that the case, Prime Minister?
As I said, well, first off, the President called me yesterday. We had a very good conversation on a wide range of subjects, ranging from situation in Ukraine, Venezuela, Arctic security. We discussed as well what Canada is doing positively, and this is the context of our discussion, what Canada is doing positively to build new partnerships around the world. I explained to him our arrangement with China. I explained to him what we're doing, 12 new deals on 4 continents in 6 months. He was impressed. And what we intend to do going forward, as well as the opportunity to, of course, move forward on CUSMA. You will note that Minister LeBlanc had discussions with one of his counterparts in the last 36 hours about some of the modalities and things on the way forward. But to be absolutely clear, and I said this to the President, I meant what I said in Davos. It was clear, it was a broader set of issues, that Canada was the first country to understand the change in U.S. trade policy that he had initiated, and we're responding to that. We're responding positively by building partnerships abroad, we're responding positively by building at home, and we're prepared to respond positively by building that new relationship through CUSMA. He understood that, and it was a good conversation, as I say.
So you didn't walk back your comments?
No.
Yes, hi everyone.
Delegation coming today. You're going to meet with them.
Yes.
Hyundai is part of that
Yes.
delegation. What does that mean for auto workers?
Well, listen, we're happy to have the Koreans in town. This is following the trip I made back to Korea in already November, actually. And so we've been having a lot of conversations. Of course, the Koreans and the Germans are both trying to win the bid for the submarines. A lot of it has to do with what will be the industrial benefits for Canada. So how can we create jobs out of this really important defense investment that will protect our sovereignty and help also our allies. And so that is what we will have as conversations. What can be done to create more jobs in the country?
Hier, M. Ford avait l'air très content de votre politique sur la voiture. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous en donner un petit peu plus de détails parce qu'on n'en a pas eu?
J'aurai l'occasion d'annoncer notre politique sur le secteur automobile sous peu. C'est sûr qu'on regarde tous les différents aspects, c'est-à-dire comment on peut vraiment travailler sur l'électrification, avoir encore plus de véhicules électriques et moins chers. Et en même temps, comment on est capable de soutenir nos manufacturiers au Canada ici, alors qu'ils sont victimes des tarifs de la Maison-Blanche de 25%. Il y a environ 500 000 personnes qui travaillent dans le secteur automobile au Canada. Ça a un énorme impact sur l'économie de l'Ontario, mais aussi celle du Québec et partout à travers le pays. Donc, notre objectif, ça va être de pouvoir continuer à avoir une politique industrielle qui est innovatrice, qui fait en sorte justement de ne pas maintenir le secteur dans un état dans un état qui est somme toute pas vivable, mais aussi qu'on va être capable de protéger les emplois.
Scott Bessent walked back his comment, or said that Prime Minister Carney walked back his comments on Davos to President Trump last night, or on Kennedy. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, the Prime Minister stands by his own words, and I think that he stated the obvious. Why do I say that is, you know, Canadians got to know how this administration was reacting way before, I think, the rest of the world. And so I think that his speech resonated so much because he was just stating the truth.
Did he walk back?
Est-ce que M. Carney a reculé lors de son appel? M. Carney a-t-il reculé lors de son appel avec M. Trump, comme le prétend le secrétaire d'État américain?
Bien, ce que je répondais en anglais à votre collègue, c'est essentiellement, le Premier ministre maintient ce qu'il a dit. Non seulement il a dit la vérité, mais je pense qu'il a dit la vérité, une vérité que les Québécois et les Canadiens savaient déjà, dans le sens où on le sait qu'on l'a ressenti beaucoup plus en avance que le reste du monde ce qui se passait aux États-Unis. On est les voisins des Américains, on voit de près ce qui se passe au sud de la frontière, on le lit dans nos médias tous les jours, on s'en préoccupe. Puis en même temps, mais la politique de leur guerre tarifaire qui nous affecte les emplois, affecte plusieurs personnes partout à travers le pays. Donc, le premier ministre a simplement dit la vérité, et c'est pour ça que je pense que ça résonne autant partout à travers le monde.
Il y a beaucoup de confusion.
Trump threatened that the other day. Is that still on the table? How is your government preparing for a new 100% tariff?
Sorry, I was just...
No problem. Trump threatened a 100% tariff threat, his most recent one. That was before, obviously, Carney and Trump spoke. How likely are you expecting the 100% tariff to come in? What is your government doing to prepare?
Well, you know, that's a similar question that I've received in the past, and my answer is always pretty much the same, which is when President Trump speaks, we listen and we take good note. But at the same time, until actions are taken, we stand by our position. And our position right now is we had an important trip to China. We have a new strategic partnership with them. We're not seeking a free trade agreement. And at the same time, we'll continue to engage with the White House, and we believe in the strength of the USMCA. So that's what we'll do. We can do both things at the same
Est-ce que
time.
vous avez pas l'impression justement qu'il y a une confusion sur ce qui a été entre ça, sur quoi on s'est entendu avec la Chine, et comment vous allez faire pour justement lutter contre cette espèce de mésinformation qu'on voit aux États-Unis? On a l'impression qu'il y a carrément un accord de libre-échange qui a été signé entre le Canada et la Chine.
Ben, il n'y en a pas. Alors, c'est pas compliqué. Merci.
Bessent says that Carney walked back his Davos comments. Are you concerned that this back and forth will affect CUSMA renegotiations?
No, I think it's important to have dialogue. As you know, the Prime Minister had a good conversation yesterday. Minister LeBlanc is on it. My focus, as you know, is on international trade diversification, and we've got some big wins recently. You know, we were in China, where we were able to get some tariff release on canola, on beef, on seafood. This is about the workers on the ground. Seafood alone is 30,000 workers, and we'll continue to open doors. Thank you.
Korea's vying for subbid. They just made it. Have you spoken with Polyev about working with your government in this parliamentary session?
Oh, I speak to the House Leader, of course, every day.
And how confident are you that you're going to get the support needed to pass the budget, the legislation that's currently being held up?
Well, I'm very confident that there's a majority in the House of Commons that is prepared to approve Mr. Carney's plan.
Aujourd'hui, la motion des conservateurs, c'est que vous fassiez une loi sur la souveraineté telle que M. Poilievre en voulait une.
Oui.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de cette initiative? Ça vous donne du goût?
Ben, nous avons, comme vous savez, signé une entente mémoire avec l'Alberta pour ce qui est du développement des ressources et devenir une superpuissance énergétique. Et on travaille évidemment province par province pour continuer de faire avancer les grands projets au Canada.
Mais les éléments qui sont dans la suggestion de la motion d'aujourd'hui sont...
Ben, vous savez qu'on a eu une élection au mois d'avril. C'est le plan de M. Carney qui a été approuvé par l'ensemble des Canadiens. On va poursuivre avec le plan de M.
C'est pas
Carney.
le plan de M. Poilievre.
Le plan de M. Poilievre n'a pas été retenu par les électeurs.
Is the NDP going to support the Budget Implementation Act?
You'd have to ask them.
What are you talking about? Like, what conversations have you had with them?
I talk to House leaders from all parties all the time. You'll have to ask them how they feel about things, though.
What are you going to do on Bill C-9 with the Conservatives refusing to let it pass through committee?
We're going to bring it to committee as soon as we're done with C-14.
But what are you going to do? The Conservatives keep filibustering when it goes to
Yeah.
committee?
Well, they used to be for protecting mosques, synagogues, churches, and other places of worship. We hope they come back to that position. Thank you.
Secretary, about the first Foreign Interference Commissioner, can you talk a little bit about where you are in that process?
So we have written to all the recognized political parties, as well as senators in the Senate, with a recommended name. We're looking for feedback, and in due course, we will be putting that name forward.
How quickly is due course?
I would say I'm hoping by next week or two, but there is a name that we have proposed, and we're looking for feedback before we make the appointment.
You originally said that it was going to happen before the end of the year last time that we spoke about this. So are you slow playing this because of trade negotiations with China? You don't want to upset anything?
No, this happened essentially the first week back, so we were not able to finalize it before we rose, but we're doing it for essentially the first day back in Parliament.
On the firearms buyback, how can your government's position is first come, first serve versus if you submit a declaration in the timeline, you will be compensated for your weapon?
Well, look, there's a budget that's allocated to this, and it is, that's the constraint that we're working with. So we are encouraging people to apply ahead of time. And as far as we're concerned, the budget will not change.
Why won't it change, though? I mean,
if
you want people to be compensated for their property,
let me just go back to the beginning of the conversation, the question that you asked. If people are worried that they may not be compensated, I would encourage them to apply early. Okay, that is the way to mitigate this. I know some people are saying, especially those who oppose this program, are saying there's not enough money. Well, you can't have it both ways. We have significant amount of money set aside for this program since budget 2023. We have roughly $200 and something million available for compensation, and I believe that we've had a really good start. At the pace we're going, we should still have adequate resources. So we're encouraging people to go ahead and apply. And I've already confirmed that the funds are available from previous budgets. We don't have a budget ask right now for additional resources.
What do you make of the criticism of Canadian companies providing vehicles and other infrastructure to ICE for its immigration crackdown in the U.S.?
Well, look, I think I will let the respective Canadian companies answer that question. Overall, we have certain laws that restrict the ability of Canadian companies to trade with the entities or countries. In the particular case of the United States, that's not a restriction. In respect to who they're selling items to, I would let Canadian company leaders answer that question.
Are you trying to at least one of these companies, those receiving subsidies from the government, is receiving some kind of money and support from the government? So how do you square that? Is that A-okay by this government?
Well, look, I will let the Canadian companies answer that question. Thank you.
In Wales to be sent to the U.S., how concerned are you that they may be used for breeding or entertainment purposes?
So I want to say that I had a very constructive meeting with Marineland. I have conditionally approved the export permits. My confidence in this is it includes all of the belugas and the dolphins. The sites are accredited, the highest standards for animal welfare in the world. And then certainly once the conditions are satisfied, I think this is a solid plan to allow these animals to live their life in much more healthy conditions.
And what do you make of the criticism that they should be going to an animal sanctuary instead?
Well, we certainly, have looked at all possibilities. Unfortunately, those sites are not available, and so this is a positive step forward to allow the belugas to move.
What's the timeline on the moving?
The timeline, which is why we're very quick in the turnaround with the permits. The timeline sets obviously with Marineland, but our plan is certainly, from my perspective, once the conditions are met, I am ready to.
What are those conditions?
So the two conditions, one is that the health of the belugas and dolphins is assessed by an accredited veterinarian, and then also the transportation plan. And then obviously once the belugas move, part of the accreditation of these sites is that those health supports are available.
And is Marineland asking for any money to help with the transportation?
My role here are the permits, and I'm certainly working with Marineland to move that forward as quickly as possible.
And is that permit to China? Sorry, just missed the top there. Is that going to China or the U.S.?
The U.S.
Thank you.
How did you feel about that with the United Committee? Look, I'm encouraged by the development that's going to see the bail reform and sentencing reform measures advanced. I think that's a good sign that hopefully collaboration in this Parliament is possible. People are demanding action on crime and public safety, Obviously, this is a major campaign commitment, and hopefully we can put these measures in place that have been endorsed by law enforcement, provincial governments, municipalities. When it comes to C9, it remains to be seen whether that level of collaboration can continue. We've seen a number of bills that have been stalled that touch on crime and public safety, not just C9 on the Combating Hate Act, the Strong Borders Act with lawful access to help crack down on illicit drug trafficking, extortion, child pornography. There's other measures that we hope to continue to advance to promote public safety, and hopefully yesterday's events at committee show collaboration is possible, and we're willing to work together with other parties.
Are you open to
C9 in trouble because you had to set it aside?
Well, look, that's not my interpretation. Obviously, there's support from different parties represented in the House, but we do have an opportunity to advance expeditiously what has been the top priority that touches on my portfolio for Canadians in every part of the country, which is reforming bail and sentencing in this country. So we have work to do. I'm hopeful we can advance measures not just to deal with bail and sentencing, but to combat hate as well.
Are you open to pulling the government support for the removal of religious exemptions? Are you open to pulling the government support for the removal of the religious exemptions? Because that seems to be a bit of a flashpoint for this bill.
Well, right now, my priority is making good on the campaign commitment that we made, and that was what was at stake, which is protecting the ability of communities of faith to practice their religion free of intimidation and obstruction, and to make sure that we crack down on crimes of hate in this country. There appeared to be no path without accommodating a request from another party, and despite some contrary comments you might hear in private conversations, it's pretty clear with the proceedings that took place at committee that the Conservatives were opposed to the Combating Hate Act from inception. If you go back to my initial committee appearance on the bill, it doesn't appear that there was any willingness for them to collaborate on that bill from the outset. So we started looking to figure out whether there were other ways we could get support, which is why we've partnered with the Bloc. My priority is to make good on the campaign commitment to protect communities against intimidation and obstruction, and to have the standalone crime of hate. From the beginning, I said we'd work up with other parties to make that happen. We found a path, and that appears to be the course
What
that
did you
we're
hear
on.
Pourquoi est-ce que vous avez cédé sur ce projet de loi? Pourquoi est-ce que vous avez mis ça de côté et passé à autre chose?
C'est neuf?
Oui.
OK, juste répétez plus longuement, s'il vous plaît.
Pourquoi est-ce que vous avez changé de parcours? Pourquoi est-ce que vous avez cédé?
C'est la première fois, je crois, honnêtement, nous avons l'habilité pour avancer l'autre projet de loi pour réformer le système de mise en liberté sous caution. Et c'est une grande priorité pour tout notre pays, pour des communautés dans ma province, en Nouvelle-Écosse, les petites villes, les grandes cités aussi. Quand nous avons une opportunité pour avancer de committement dans la campagne électorale, il est essentiel pour moi de prendre d'opportunités. Mais il est essentiel aussi d'avancer des autres priorités.
Mais qu'est-ce qui s'est passé dans le comité qui vous a amené à prendre cette décision-là?
Je ne comprends pas la dernière phrase.
I'll say it in English,
Okay,
mais j'aimerais une réponse en français.
Oui.
What happened in the committee to have you make this decision? Switch course.
Maintenant, j'ai des conversations avec des critiques avec des blocs, des partis conservateurs. Quand nous arrivons au Ottawa, c'est clair, hein, il y a un problème après quelques mois, l'obstruction de la partie conservateur poser un problème pour M. Poilievre. Il y a une possibilité maintenant pour changer le cours, pour avancer la priorité dans le système de mise en liberté sous caution. C'est une priorité quand nous avons l'habilité pour obtenir une entente avec le Parti conservateur et le Bloc. C'est nécessaire pour l'unanimité et c'est possible pour la première fois juste maintenant.
Are you worried about the job impacts of the latest tariff press?
I think what we've done is really prepare for job loss through a number of different measures. We've strengthened DEI, we've increased work sharing. We've certainly seen companies utilize work sharing as a way to support their workforce, keep their workforce attached while changes are happening to their company. But look, that's the planning that we did, months ago to make sure that if there is disruption in the auto sector or other critical sectors, for example, in pulp and paper in Northern Ontario, that we would have a system that would take care of workers while they transition. And we've also got a number of pieces going on right now around more rapid skills alignment with what the industries are transforming towards.
Are you going to reform EI at all?
Certainly, we've done quite a bit, as you know, right now. Many of them are temporary measures, and for me as the Labour Minister and an Employment Minister, we're always looking at how we can strengthenize and modernize these systems of support that really are those safety nets for people when they've lost their job. So we're having a number of conversations right now, notably in the department, but of course across the Federation.
We saw a Korean submaker make a deal with Algoma Steel yesterday. How are you expecting the Korean sub manufacturing in Canada to help with Canadian jobs?
Well, certainly that's part of why we have been through the major loans approach through the tariff, large loan tariff. What is it called exactly? But the large loans for tariff-impacted businesses. I probably don't have the exact name correctly outlined there, but essentially I was with Algoma Steel while we made that announcement just a few months ago. Steel is a critical industry in Canada. Without steel and without the ability to produce steel in a sovereign way in our own country, it really limits the capacity of many other sectors. And so that's exactly why we have this large enterprise loan facility available, so that companies like Algoma Steel can utilize that, can utilize things like work sharing and supports for training their workers to keep them attached to the workforce. Because I will also tell you that as the Minister of Employment, if you lose your workforce during a slowdown, during a impact in your industry, it can be really hard to reattract those workers. It can be really hard to ensure that their skills are kept current for the kinds of industries that you're trying to service. So look, that story will evolve as it will, but it's good news that Algoma Steel has the capacity to be able to do these pivots.
Last question. The provinces are meeting on later this week on the daycare deals. What are your expectations for that meeting?
Well, obviously, this is a really important social architecture for everything we're trying to do. We need to be able to take care of our children. Families need to be able to have confidence that there's an affordable child care system, and no matter what province they live in, so that they can actually take these jobs and continue to be part of the workforce. And so I think all the ministers understand that, and the question is how we can both grow the system and sustain what we have.
Do you believe U.S. option, Chinese option with respect to Wales?
So what I can say is, deal with what's in front of me, and this proposal is a solid one. Obviously, there are conditions, which I mentioned earlier, and we're working, and I'm working with Marineland to hopefully see this through quickly.
But how is it different? How is this any different from the other situation?
So I think in this instance, and obviously, my responsibility is the permitting. In this instance, it is an accredited site, and I'm confident that the standards of care for the belugas and dolphins will be in line with what exists within the Fisheries Act and what we expect in Canada.
And did the euthanasia threats, how did you feel about that? Did that put pressure on you to make a decision? I
am really pleased that the conversation that I had with Marineland the other day was very positive, and I'm working to ensure that this is successful as much as we can do from this end. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Pretty cool, eh? I think it's, well, I loved what Nick Suzuki said with the Montreal Canadiens just recently, saying that, the sport recognizes the challenges that they have had before, and that this is a bit of a time of reckoning. So that was a misquote of Nick Suzuki, but I think it's opening a conversation about diversity and inclusion and hockey culture.
We've seen a few professional athletes come out after the show aired, and it was a CanCon that sort of sparked that global international moment. What does it mean for Canadians to sort of have this moment on the global stage? What do you think we should do with it next?
Well, it speaks volumes to the power and the influence of Canadian storytelling. And, we are statistically the safest place for 2S LGBTQ people around the world. And we're also the most hockey-loving nation in the world. So what better country to have that conversation, to actively engage in the media sphere around it, and to promote stories and to tell stories that are extremely relevant to Canadians. It's not just, it's not just entertainment, it's art, and it's tremendously important.
Are you going to be at the Olympics, and will you be making a statement along this line at the Olympics?
I will be at the Olympics and the Paralympic Games and the Arctic Winter Games as well, which are at the exact same time as the Paralympics. And look, this is an important global conversation. Heated rivalry is not just popular in Canada. We saw Ilya and Hollander carrying the torch yesterday in Milano Cortina, which is a very, very cool thing. So, yeah, this is an important time in sport. It's a time for reckoning, and it's great art, right? I think we all agree. I binged watched it over the holidays and had a lot of fun.
With the Olympics, just on a more serious note, just what do you make of the reports that the Americans are sending ICE agents along with their delegation to be security for people like J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio? It's like these are immigration agents going to Italy for the Olympics.
I haven't heard that, and I won't comment on it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.